Right, good morning everyone. Can we make a start for the next session, session 6? I'm David West from GEANT and I'm the person who's trying to keep everyone under control. This session is entitled Cross-Border Collaboration. In the last session we were talking about projects that need regional collaboration. I think here of the Sesame project, for example. I think here of the Earth observation projects that were described in the NAS presentation. I also think back to yesterday when Michael Foley's presentation talking about over 5,000 citations on a particular paper, indicating how global research is. And in the same way, we need cross-border collaboration on networks and platforms to support these regional activities. My own organisation, GEANT, does an awful lot of collaboration. In Europe, we coordinate over 40 research networks, national research networks, in the GEANT project to provide a seamless network and service platform across Europe. We're also working here in the region through the GRNET project to provide regional cross-border collaboration in North Africa, with the UMedConnect project to provide cross-border collaboration in the Eastern Mediterranean, and also working with other parties in other parts of the world to do that. In terms of today's speak, we have four interesting speakers, I know. The good news about this session, I don't know if you all got the latest version of the programme here. We were due to squeeze 5 speakers into 1 hour. We've got a great opportunity here. We now have 4 speakers, and we have 1.5 hours for them. So we have a little bit more time to do this. I hopefully won't have to do so much timekeeping as I otherwise would. With no more than that, I'd like to welcome the first speaker, who is Hyunho Choi from the TEIN Cooperation Centre. He's a senior manager there, and with special responsibility for international relations, and he's going to talk about the Asia Connect project and its role in collaboration.
Good morning, everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, and Chair David West, thank you for introducing me. So, first of all, thank you for inviting me to here. So, it's my first visit to Africa. So, but regularly I have so many business trips abroad. So, Africa is the first to me. And so very nice place, and so very fantastic land. Before my presentation, so I have one quick quiz to you. So, do you know the meaning of Cairo historically in this city? So the meaning is the land of victory. The Cairo city is the biggest city in Africa, and some very historical and very fantastic cities in Egypt. And so I'm very glad to be here and to present. It's my pleasure to us. And so my name is Louis Hyunho Choi. It's a very difficult pronunciation to pronounce in the Asian name, and so just call me the Louis. And so I'm in charge of the managing the Asia Connect project, and so especially for me, so I have to control and manage to government sector, and so we have to explain and negotiation within the government sector, because we want to get more budget from government, and so slightly control to general issue in our TEIN Cooperation Center company, and so to build more relation to international relationship. And so I have to slightly present to you, so to explain and to understanding for our project. This is TEIN is a very simple and powerful project in Asia region. So TEIN is a connection to European region to Asian region. And so we provide and we have to chance to make the relation two regions, Europe and Asia. And so especially we provide some chance to building and educating to make the achievement the more skills, especially for East South Asian region and South Asia region too. Okay, so now, and then what is the meaning of TEIN? So TEIN is a special high-speed networks connectivity for research and education communities. It covers Asia and Pacific regions and also directly connected to Europe. The TEIN networks covers 24 Asia Pacific countries and economies. The TEIN networks has a goal to provide various global collaboration opportunity and to benefit for capacity building development. Eventually, the TEIN will dedicate for achievement of United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. It's the strategic goal from United Nations, and so via the project. Yeah, TEIN is a very unique Europe and Asia continental collaborations. The project born in Asia-Europe Summit, so we call it the ASEM meetings, in 2000 and developed as the representative information communication technology collaboration between two regions. Through the last 15 years, as you can see from my slide, the TEIN connected most of Asian countries and economies and dedicated for development of various research and applications. Now, TEIN is renamed as Asia Connect, so the last year. So we have made some new contract with the European Commission. And so following the other European Union's international project. And we'll continue to develop the network and human connection within Asia and Pacific region and to explain with other international connectivity. Yeah, this is a history, the future for explain TEIN project, Asia Connected 2. So as I mentioned, the project loop is an international political meeting. We call it the ASEM meeting. So ASEM and the readers have been support this project through every ASEM summit, the readers meeting, since 2000. This project is a European Union funded multilateral international project. And so just we call it a grant contract as well. The European Union has been supporting since TEIN 2 in 2004 and continuously involved through each project phases. Fortunately, the Korea government supports the establishment of a TEIN Cooperation Center and continues to support the project in TEIN Cooperation Center. And so luckily, I have got the chance to establishment to our TEIN Cooperation Center. And so I made some specially and specified the control task to make our project and to establishment to our center. Now, TEIN evolution. So just you have some easily understanding from this slide. So just very easy. Just a look. So up to the usage, the traffic is very simple. This graph shows how TEIN developed for last 15 years since 2001. And TEIN started with a bilateral connection and expanded with now in 24 countries joined in Asia Pacific. Also in bandwidth has been so dramatically increased, maybe. And now we have a goal to increase up to 100G for the next 5 years in Asia Connect project period. Yeah, what is Asia Connect? As you know, because the TEIN is just changed the project name from European Commission. So we started in TEIN and TEIN 2 and TEIN 3 and TEIN 4 in the last ended, and now in the Asia Connect is a new started. And after 4 phases of TEIN project, lifetime, we achieved to make a foundation for research and collaboration activities. We can say TEIN eras were to establish infrastructure, and Asia Connect opened a new era for research and application activities based on TEIN eras. To do this, Asia Connect provide a dedicated regional high capacity and high quality networks for research and education communities across Asia Pacific and Europe region. And also we leverage the e-infrastructure and its activities. So you can see from my slide, so at the bottom of the line, so many, I made some cute icons. So for several application activities, so is quality is not fine, but it's telemedicine and Earth observation for research for Earth science, and food security, e-science, e-learning, e-culture. So just the e-culture means cyber performance, and advanced in the information communication technology and capacity building program. So this is an educational program to provide some build our partner members. Yeah, this is a partner, so already connected and joined 24 countries, and so Afghanistan to some Vietnam, so many nations connected. Yeah, this is a network. Yeah, you can get more information from our website, TEIN.Asia. So it's just slightly advertising in my presentation time session. And so we have 5 paths. Already you know in the paths, it's just a node to link across the network. And it's just one major node, Network Operation Center, is located in the Tsinghua University in China. And so we have to control and we have to collaboration work with Tsinghua University. And partners are connected with up to 10 Gbps backbone. And so we are increasingly and every day to the future. Yeah, now, so I can explain to several major application activities. And so just we have a major application cases, the 7 to 8 great parties. Just this is a case 1. Is for example in the telemedicine. So the telemedicine is the most important application too. So medical doctors and experts share their experience and knowledge for epidemic disease prevention and protection, and make the better public health service via research in Asia Connect network, the TEIN. And Asia Connect provides high quality and network connectivity for supporting the live surgery and telesurgical trainings and some major big events, and so many participants go to some event and they can present their activities and discuss about some issues in the Asia GRNET project. Now, example 2, e-science. E-science recently is very increasing issues because so just e-science and already related some artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is already fully involved in the information communication technology too. But e-science is a TEIN. It's a very important infra for e-science research activities too. On the example for high energy physics. Because high energy physics is, it's the research for atomic ability and atomic facility too. This application requires high quality and high bandwidth network for big data exchanges. And so we are facing the critical issues about global warming and climate change. So this is a part of the disaster management and prediction and prevention from natural disaster too. The TEIN network used for monitoring weather prediction and crop research in the food control. This research help betterment of people's life too. Also, people in the remote rural area benefit from high resolution regional prediction system by more accurate to make the high quality accuracy is we need it, and so for a forecast. To explain. Yeah, now 4 is information communication technology and techniques. And so TEIN also supports development of ICT technology. Asia GRNET enables the researchers and engineers to develop and deliver innovative network technologies such as the future internet. So especially according to the worldwide report in field of ICT collaboration, so just a keyword is AI and big data. So just AI issue is a very interesting issue in the world. So just when we are researching to AI parties, and so just we always and we need the high capacity networking service is fully required, and so just whole several technical parties as like some big data is whole related, and so in field of the ICT professor and expert, they need more high capacity networking service from government, from commercial parties, and so on. And so nowadays, Asia GRNET project, we are we are think about supporting and managing to this research field in two. Yeah, okay. 3 minutes remains for me. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Now, so e-learning part. E-learning is a very important, typically in remote area for balanced educational opportunity. Asia GRNET offer and share comprehensive online education service and know-hows. E-culture. So, I think that is a very important application parties by myself, because it's performance. When we are understanding some project, some techniques, just I want to easily understanding from some issues. And so we can show very easily and very powerfully explain from cyber performance to here. And so just several nations and the same consequence and same time rule. So just a different region, some players in Asia, some players located in Europe and others. At the same time, and we can make the same performance as like in some same place. And so cyber performance to you. Yeah, finally, so capacity building. So just it's very important to things. So Asia GRNET is focused on and capacity building program supporting network engineers and administrative staff. Also, we have project partner for the campus network infrastructure designs. It allows university to connect to their network to each national research and application network and local internet exchange point too. Okay, just 1 minute. I can make the exact time to me. So this is the final slide. Yeah, so long-term trip. So I have so many stories I hope to share with all of you, but I will finalize my presentation with introducing TEIN Cooperation Center. And TEIN CC is and established in the Seoul, Korea, to management of a TEIN and Asia GRNET project. We promote the international collaborations and more application activities via Asia GRNET project. Also, I hope to make sure more collaborations between WACREN, this region researchers, and project managers, and TEIN CC. And so, in the future, so next March, so we have held the major meeting in Singapore. So just we called it our Asia GRNET governance meeting, and we then collaborated with an APAN meeting, so Asia Network and Expert meeting, so annually. And so I hope to join to coming to our meeting in next March in Singapore. So just at the time, if we meet again, I hopefully and I warm welcome to you in there. So because I have to organize our major meeting in there too. Thank you very much. And so very thank you for my present to you. Thank you.
There is a very interesting range of collaborative user activities being supported through the Asia GRNET project. Any questions for Louis?
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that you are moving to applications. And my question is, you have, I expect you provide applications for a given number of countries with differences in languages, many languages. So this is a challenge in itself. So how is your project supporting those researchers in certain countries where the language of teaching and research is their native language?
Okay, thank you for your question. So it's very important things. And so first of all, so we already joined in 24 countries in the Asian region to Europe. So especially we have to provide some chance to Asia country region. And so so many different languages use it. So Japanese in Indonesia and several different languages. Especially Asia region is totally different too. And so we use it optionally, use of English speaking. And so at the time, so we have a meeting in the major event. And so optionally we use English speaking and so written document and material by English. And so second, so if we need support to expert and staff in our partner nations in the Asia region, so we could easily support to what they want to do here and what they want there. So if they want to make the small seminar and workshop in their nations, and so we can support the budget and staff activities for supporting. And sometimes if we need some supporting to make the growing of the network speed 10G to 100G. So we just discuss about something to solve the problem, and so just including the discussing about the budget and status and the network condition. So and some station. That's all. And so our team is supporting the total service to our partner bodies.
Okay, thank you very much, Louis. We'll move on. If there's further time for any more questions at the end of the presentation, we'll do this. Otherwise, let me ask our second speaker to come to the podium. It's Choi, who's the Chief Technology Officer of WACREN, part of the GRNET project that we work with today.
Yes, good afternoon. This is also my first EH, hopefully not my last. I'm going to talk about WACREN and our plans for connecting WACREN to the Global Research Network. So we started looking at the TEIN presentation and the iterations, TEIN 1, 2, 3, 4. This is WACREN 1. We're just about to start. So I thought what I would do is give you a sense of what the region is like and the sort of challenges we are facing and the promise. So that's really what we want to do. If you look at that map, you'll see that West and Central Africa has no connections to GEANT. That's what we're trying to change with the Africa Connect 2 project. And this is really what we'd like to do to be able to access these networks. I know the maps are drawn from different perspectives, but this sort of gives you an idea of what we want to connect to. So what I want to do is give you a bit of background so you understand what we're currently experiencing. We have lots of capacity on the shores of our coasts, and we've had for some time. Now we had the first submarine cables over a decade ago. That has increased now. There are quite a few cables now, and that's really increased, almost tenfold. But the cost of connectivity in our higher education institutions are still very high. The issue is getting the connectivity from the coast into the countries. So when I was listening to the issues in Lebanon yesterday, I could empathize with them, and we sort of have the same general idea. If you can't get the connectivity going immediately, you need to start to get the community and the services working. But even within Africa, West and Central Africa still has huge, very expensive connection rates. Some countries are good. So because Nigeria is a telecoms hub and the cables sort of converge in Nigeria, the prices in Nigeria have sort of come down. So you can get bandwidth now at the STM1 level for between 35 and 65. But in countries like Mali and Burkina Faso, that's still about $1,000 to $2,000 per meg. So we got issues compared to the other parts of the world. We think there's a huge role for governments, vice chancellors, there's a colleague here from one of the universities here, and governments to play in WACREN's emancipation. I've missed the slide somewhere. So anyway, we're incorporated in 2010 precisely to try and address this issue. We currently have 12 NWEN members. Half of these were actually sort of started within the Africa Connect 2 project, and I'll sort of talk about that. We have some associate members. I thought it pertinent to note. The French NWEN is also a member of WACREN. For those who know the geography of the region, a large part of West and Central Africa is Francophone. So that's what I was referring to. So that's the area we're supposed to cover. So what we decided to do was, even before the Africa Connect 2 project, was sort of conceive this network. So because we're the late starters, there's certain aspirations we had. We didn't want to start, because when you're thinking 1 meg connections in universities, it's very easy to limit your aspirations. So when we started to talk amongst ourselves and we said, we need at least a 10 gig backbone, it seemed very far-fetched. But I saw a presentation yesterday. If you build it, they will come. That was the sort of spirit we had. We would start where we meant to be, where we wanted to be at, and see how much effort we could put at getting there. So the basic plan was to have a simple enough network, 10 gig core, a minimum of 1 gig to the entrance, nothing less. 3 to 4 aggregation hubs in the country, on the continent. So the idea was Cameroon is the biggest Central African country, so Cameroon was one of those. In Francophone West Africa, Côte d'Ivoire is a large hub, another natural aggregation point. Ghana, obviously Nigeria, and Senegal. Within the context of the Africa Connect 2 project, we actually have 2 of these aggregation hubs going operational in the next quarter. So we also wanted to be able to keep this open and make sure we could connect to every possible collaborator. So open exchanges as a principle feature very strongly in our plans, and that's what the network topology we're looking at, sort of looks like. So the line in blue is a wet backbone linking the 4 hubs I just talked about. We are establishing a connection from Nigeria to the UK, so it's a Lagos to London link that's coming up in Q1. The rest are terrestrial links. The links in orange are the terrestrial links that we plan. Within the Africa Connect 2 project, we're obliged to connect 2 terrestrial countries. Now that's turned out to be the real challenge now. In any case, we're all familiar with this. We're all members of Africa Connect 2, as REN is, but that's, for us, the guiding principle is inclusiveness, where we get any country in the region who is willing and able to participate, we're going after them. So out of that 26.6 million, we have only 12.5 of it, and it's an 80-20 funding scheme. For us, we need to look for about 2.5 million. It didn't seem very much when we started, but it's been a humongous challenge raising 2.5 million. We thought it was going to be straightforward, considering that the countries had been starved for bandwidth for quite a while and that they would jump at it. But it hasn't happened like that. So we decided to go on a advocacy spree when we saw that for the first 6 months we didn't have any responses. So we saw the regional networks, the regional organizations, economic councils. We visited the ministers of the different countries. We managed to get to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, and the others listed there. In the process, we managed to stimulate a lot of awareness. So that's one of the real positives. And then connected, thanks to friends like Michael Foley and others, connected with the World Bank initiatives in the region and World Bank operatives who, in the different countries, who sort of stimulated the countries to pay for the contributions to Africa Connect. Because in most of these countries, there will be a World Bank project or some other, in Côte d'Ivoire, for instance, an AFD project, where they could take out the contribution and put it into Africa Connect 2. So that's what happened in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and in Côte d'Ivoire. So at this point, we have Togo, Mali, we have those 6 listed signed up. Sierra Leone is expected to join in the next month. They are sort of moving forward. The ministers signed the appropriate documents. We're about to get there. We have finished the procurement for connectivity for the Lagos, Accra, and London links. the equipment tender just finished. So we're trying to sync both so we can get started in January. So the objective is to get the network up by Q1. But we haven't completely raised the counterpart funding yet. So there's still a bit of a challenge. I'm convinced it's not going to be a problem because as we sort of build the network, the other countries are starting to see that they'll be left behind if they don't jump on the train, and we're getting a lot more interest there. So we've talked about this. These are the opportunities for WACREN, the WACREN NRENs. This is why we're building the network, for the collaboration, for the identity federations and science gateways, EduRoam, and so on and so forth. This is where we're similar to Lebanon, AUB. So while this was going on, you have to remember that although the AAC Africa Connect 2 started in 2015, the network is just being built, so we didn't really sit on our hands. We were trying to sort of do something else while you're sort of looking for this money. So collaboration and services were very high on the agenda for me. Otherwise, I had very little to do. So with EduRoam, we started to try and push EduRoam in the region, but we had a problem. And it was because the way EduRoam was structured for Africa, there are five world regions have a confederation. It's only in Africa that we didn't have a confederation. So what that meant was that we basically had to work with Europe, and we couldn't work as ourselves. So what we decided to do, we talked with GEANT and agreed to start an African pilot. And since that pilot, the number of countries that have EduRoam have quadrupled. I mean, pilot started in July. Before July, we had 9 operators in all of Africa, 2 in West and Central Africa. But as of today, we have 14 in Africa, and 8 of them are in West and Central Africa. At the same time, we sort of looked at the shared services model. We had the same issues. It's great to have the public cloud, but if the public cloud is not homed next to you, then you have the same issues and the same that you're trying to get away from with connectivity. So what we have done with that is to create a pilot where we're using software from the Greek NREN, and it's mostly infrastructure as a service. And then some of the other Horizon 2020 projects we're trying to sort of, localize the services that were developed in those projects. WACREN EduID is our equivalent of life. It's our project to bootstrap the uptake of identity federations. Now, one of the things we discovered that there was a capacity gap. And identity federations can get complex. So we had an issue with our engineers being slow on the uptake. So what we have done with that is turn that into a cloud service so we can accelerate the uptake. And we intend to innovate with that, because what we're going to do now with those cloud IDPs is also use them for EduRoam. And we think in the next year, when I come back, I'll be able to tell you how far we've gone there. Another thing we did in terms of collaboration was work with WACREN and the Ubuntu Alliance to come up with this initiative called the Africa Training Initiative. The basic idea is for the NRENs to direct the training that they get. As it is now, in many parts of Africa, training is directed by the providers. So the whole idea here is for the regional RENs to sort of act as a broker between the NRENs who need the training and the ecosystem of expert trainers and specialists that we know. So we have partnered with FIRST and Africa in terms of cybersecurity. We have also partnered with some other like public health. We have partnerships in public health, and we're sort of developing these partnerships as we go. This is my last slide. So this is important. This is the one I want to talk about because I know Iman would be interested in this. We have this, when we said to look at these services, we sort of realized that there's also another challenge, getting the campuses to take the services up. So we needed to find a way to embed these services on campus. So we identified the librarians as a community of practice we needed to sort of develop. So we just thought they were ideal for that activity. So we do two things. On one hand, we sort of engage our librarians, so there's a little bit more, they move towards the digital space. And on the second hand, they help us embed these services that we're providing on campus. So I heard talks of, and this is mostly open access repositories, getting the researchers more visible, consuming metadata in the open space so that all that data and visibility of African researchers is a little bit more prominent. And we currently have a study going on with the University of Sheffield and the Nigerian Library Consortium, and basically to understand what challenges and what the enablers are. So in the coming year, we're going to be extending that across to the other collaborators in WACREN, and we hope that we can work together under that in Africa Connect too. Otherwise, those are our contacts, and there's a bit of competition here. We also have a conference in March. So some of you are going to choose to go to TEIN, and some of you are going to come to WACREN. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Omo, for a very fascinating, clear demonstration of many levels to build a network for that services, do capacity building, all at the same time.
Thank you very much. I've been waiting for almost 6 minutes to ask my question. It's good to have WACREN because it's a dream to have one regional REN for Africa. We don't want to be parses. It should be one, at least a collaborative platform for the regional RENs. My question is, do you have any plan for learning from each other for answering WACREN and going to mechanize? My idea is learning, for example, from what is already on the website of the mechanize. They have many manuals, how-to manuals. It's called how-to. Then several manuals how to establish a sustainable environment, how to do this or that. So my question is, do you have any plan for this? It should be translated into Arabic and French. It should be updated first because it was developed in 2009. So it could be translated and uploaded on your website for all entrants to learn. Thank you.
Right, I don't know, we have this tandem project, Trans-African Network Development Project, in which Ognjen Alliance actually led work package. And one of the work packages was in development and services and communicating what and meant and how to develop one. So within the project, we developed a guide in both English and French. And that guide distilled a lot of the content that you're talking about on the Ognjen Alliance website, as well as other materials. So yes. And then we work very closely. So yes, I think WACREN, this current set of CEOs and collaboration, I think WACREN would definitely be realizing the company.
Okay, thank you very much. We move swiftly this time on to the third presentation, to queuing up for this presentation. The next speaker is Ognjen from GRNET, who is going to talk about the VIC project platform in the eastern part of the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much, David. This is working? Yeah, it is. Yeah, so hi, my name is Ognjen Prnjat, and I'm from the Greek NRN. So today I'll be talking about the support for open science in the Eastern Mediterranean regions and Eastern Mediterranean region and Southeast Europe. So just one comment to Omo before I forget. So thank you very much for using our open source Cinefo cloud software for your infrastructure as a service, but we're currently evaluating whether we're going to continue developing it and supporting it or not. We're thinking about maybe going to OpenStack. We'll see. We'll let you know in due time. So there is no Yeah, there's no surprises. So this presentation is project-based, but it's really a wider context than that, because well, this particular project has 16 partners, runs for 3 years, has considerable funding from the Commission, and we have 2 partners from the region, which are Biblioteca Alexandrina and Sesame. As I said, it's much wider context than just one project, although it is a project presentation, but it's a wider context. We've been working for the last 15 years in setting up the electronic infrastructures on the regional level in Southeast Europe mainly, and then we expanded the geographical coverage by including the Caucasus countries, and then finally now also collaborating with the Eastern Mediterranean. So we started off with network links within the region and to GEANT. Now most of the countries are in GEANT, or those who are not there either linked through Eastern Partnership or through Med Connect, Africa Connect. But what we do in these projects, mainly after setting up the networking infrastructure base, we are adding up value-added services on top of the network, and this is really where the strength comes out of. Basically providing, we started providing grid computing services, so high throughput computing, then we continue with high performance computing, and now we're in the stage of big data development, so we are providing a set of different data services as well. So this particular initiative that runs right now is unifying all the kind of resources. So we have the grid and cloud computing resources, we have high performance computing resources, and a set of data services, and then actual data being available through the system. So it is quite a technologically wide endeavor, and also it is geographically a very wide endeavor. We have basically 3 continents included. So the overall objective is to provide an integrated virtual research environment for different strategic user communities in our regions. The 3 communities that we're dealing with now are climatology, life sciences, and digital cultural heritage, which we have identified as the most relevant for the region. So as I said, we're providing the value-added services on top of the network with diverse computing technologies and also data facilities, and we are taking the service-oriented approach to things, so we provide a set of services for researchers to use within their research life cycle. So the whole life cycle of scientific research is then covered. So from the point that you realize that you need to use computing resources to do your calculations, you can run them, your simulations on our infrastructure, then you can use different particular domain-specific or application-specific services to process your data. Once your data is processed, then you can publish your output data inside of this virtual research environment as well, so that other people can then take it and reuse it. So we try to close the cycle of the scientific research in this manner. So as I said, we have a service-oriented approach. So when a user comes in, they can see a set of services which are available to her or him. So we have common services and resources which are operated by a particular work package. That doesn't matter. So this is used by all the scientific communities. So generic services. Then we have particular application level specific services as well, which are available to the end users. Now this service catalog is compliant with the FIT-SM standards, so we have a particular way of managing the service deployment process and then the service usage process. So we have 19 services currently grouped in 5 categories. So I'll just present these types of services. So when the end user comes in, they can see that they can use the high performance computing sites, they can use the grid computing sites, meaning high throughput computing, cloud sites and storage sites in the region. So this is a very large infrastructure. So we connect, we really connect all the supercomputers in the region, and we connect all the big data centers in the region. Because the consortium that we work with in all the countries are typically the NRNs, which most of the times also operate the big data centers in the country, or we directly collaborate with the big data centers. So we linked in, we have linked in basically a huge, well, quite a large number of resources. I'm not going to read them here, but it's listed on the slide. Just an example of high performance computing sites. So these are the HPC machines that we provide access to for the regional user communities. So apart from 3 top top 500 supercomputers from a couple of years ago. There was one in Hungary, one in Greece, and one in Bulgaria, I think. Yes, Bulgaria. We also have the supercomputing facilities in Cyprus, which has been mentioned by our Sesame speaker earlier this morning. And we have the Biblioteca Alexandrina HPC machine as well, which is available to regional research. So for the comment for our speaker from Sesame, I mean, the separate supercomputer that you have access to is great, but we have also the access to any other supercomputer under the usage sharing, resource sharing policy in the region, and these are just some of the supercomputers that we link. So this was the example of HPC sites, and then, as I said, also we have big, large cloud infrastructure as a service data centers, the biggest one being in Greece, linked to this, as well as some smaller grid clusters. So this infrastructure is managed, this computing infrastructure of diverse types is managed through a set of different operational services. So you have to have a code repository, you have to have a help desk, you have some kind of accounting for this, you have to have a registry of all the resources, you have to have monitoring. So all these things are actually deployed physically at different places. So different technical teams are responsible for managing different operational services themselves. So this is how we spread the responsibility throughout the region, and also we have the know-how spread throughout the region. So it's not one or two big centers which are running the show, but we try to include everybody to have some kind of technical know-how and to help manage the infrastructure. Then, apart from these computing services that I mentioned, then we have the set of data management services. So we have simple storage, we have a repository service, we have archival service, we have data search and discovery service, and then we have data analytics, such as Hadoop, and we also have a service which issues persistent identifiers to data sets, so that the data objects can be published, the data sets can be published, and then easily that can be tagged with persistent identifiers, and then easily searchable and findable data sets of the scientists in the region. Also, these data services are physically spread, so this is just a geographical snapshot of the data services where they are. We have some in Egypt as well, and as in Jordan. And then when the user wants to access these resources, they can first see, as I told you, in the service catalog, what is the high level view of these different types of services that they can access. Then they can come into the virtual research environment portal, and they can actually browse through different services and see how they can access them. Yeah? The important thing here is that this virtual research environment portal that you can access through this link is able also to handle the upload of the new data and the new users and the new data sets that can be then shared with the community. Not only the new data sets, but also, of course, the new applications, if there are any applications, softwares, and codes. So then, a snapshot of this virtual research environment where you can see that there are a set of particular application level services. So these are particular codes or particular applications which can be triggered and used by different user communities. So not just running a new application on a HPC site, but also triggering a particular software as a service like deployment application that can then do the job. So the typical, we have three user communities. So the flagship software as a service, application level services we call them. We have the live access server in climate domain. We have digital cultural heritage domain. We have an application called Clouder. This is a Biblioteca Alexandrina development. And in life sciences, we have the ChemBio server. So these things, so the live access server is a web server which provides the flexible access to georeferenced scientific data, offering visualization and post-processing specifically for climate data. Then the Clouder is a digital cultural heritage repository which also offers visualization tools for digital cultural heritage data. And then we have the ChemBio server, which is a web-based pipeline for filtering, clustering, and visualization of chemical compounds used in drug discovery. So this VRE is open, and the point is that the resources are shared. Yeah? So we have a memorandum of understanding between the computing centers and the data centers providing the resources. We have a memorandum of understanding where a certain percentage is shared among the users in the region. Yeah? So these are open, as I said, these resources are glued together through this initiative, and we provide the access through open calls, where we have the peer review, typically for high-performance computing applications specifically, or for applications needing large amount of storage or computing resources. So we have three open calls, and the first one has been finished, and the second open call is currently, the applications are running, and the third open call will be open in, I think, in spring next year. So far we have 40 plus applications running on the infrastructure from different countries in the region. And these are just some numbers of what is the size of this. So it's 14 million CPU core hours, 30.4 million GPU core hours have been provided, a large number of large storage capacity as well. So the application areas are in these three, let's say, three main areas, as I said, climate and bioinformatics and digital cultural heritage, but then you have more specific set of applications listed here. The important thing is also for the region is that there are some particular applications which are relevant for here. So we have, as I said, Biblioteca Alexandrina providing a virtual museum framework where you can access different digitized objects, digital cultural heritage objects, and actually visualize them as well. Then we have also similar application from Department of Antiquities in Jordan, where in Petra they have taken, with some recent excavations, they found some wall paintings and some more statues and things like that. So this has been is in the process of being digitized, and also some preservation methods are being tested for that. Then we have the climate. University of Cairo has a climate regional Eastern Nile Basin climate simulation running. Then we have different things. And Sesame is also doing some spectrometry there, or will do actually in the next call, I think. We're expecting them to apply. So we're providing access to the different user communities from this particular region as well. And then there is a number of applications from Southeast Europe as well, and the Caucasus, Southern Caucasus countries that I mentioned at the beginning. So we support this this effort. Of course, it's very important to have the training, dissemination, and innovation management also in place. So we have a content-rich web platform for training material. In many cases, this training material is in a local language, so apart from English. We have a number of different events, and then by the end of these 3 years of running, we plan to have about 100 papers published. The access is through the training portal, and I think that the majority of this material is available for the training. So you can come and see it as well. And to conclude, so this is the initial conclusion that I have written when I sent the presentation, but there are some other conclusions that maybe are coming out of this this event. So I presented the case study for regional shared value-added services on top of the network. So we have a particular virtual research environment for 3 particular communities in the region. We have a service catalog which lists the services, and then end users can access these services through the virtual research environment portal, and we try to have a user-centric view, and we have to provide an open calls for access of these resources. Now, I wrote here, ASEAN community can benefit from this example of common technical and scientific cross-border endeavor. Indeed, so this is a very important thing. Now, what we did, so there were a number of really good presentations yesterday as well. So Ankabut, there was a good presentation of what's happening in the Emirates. They're really serving their communities strongly. But the strength, I think, comes from helping those who are weaker. So, what we did in these projects, so I told you it's 14, 15 years of development, So we sent those more advanced countries, technical staff, to the less advanced countries to train the staff, to help them hands-on for whatever it is. It was different technologies for application porting on HPC, for setting up the network, whatever, for securities, for different types of things. This is the kind of collaboration that we have cherished really over all these years, to try to get the highly skilled people to help on the ground those who are less skilled. Then the second really important thing is this resource sharing. So there's a supercomputer. So probably I think the next speaker is from Saudi, and we'll talk about, might mention the supercomputer. Yeah, that's you. So I don't know if this supercomputer is, for example, open with a very symbolic percentage. It's a huge machine. Can it be open to researchers from Palestine, or I don't know, wherever? Yeah, this is the point. So we have dedicated and signed a memorandum of understanding between the big computing centers, where 5% is open for transnational research, especially if there, and we especially try to strengthen the collaborative aspects of things. So if there are researchers from different countries collaborating together on the same project, then they have an advantage in the using of this system. Yeah? So our current infrastructure is open to researchers from the participating countries. So this is Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. Is also there, but of course, if there are, again, collaboration between with the countries of the ASEAN region with these countries, you can come and use this virtual research environment. Yeah. So yes, so this is what I wanted to say. I think I stayed within my limit. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very impressive and obviously well established collaboration you've got here in the scientific areas. You've half answered my question already on the bottom of your last slide about the scope for other countries in the ASEAN region to join the program.
Yeah.
Can NRENs play a part in this?
Yes, of course, it's always the dissemination. The fact that we would like the calls to be disseminated, the open calls to the platform, and we want more applications, to receive more applications, and to assess them based on scientific merit and provide access. So yes, the NRNs can help by actually disseminating this, and I think the ASEAN has been doing this also to support this. Yeah.
Other questions for Ognjen?
Iman, surely. I mean, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, my question is, for researchers to participate or to benefit from your resources,
Yeah.
they need a sort of authentication
Yeah.
certificate or federation identity. I don't know if it is the
Yes.
same way.
Yes.
I remember that 4 or 5 years ago, I had tried to communicate with you and tried to get our researchers in Sudan to benefit from the applications already developed there. And we faced that we didn't have, at that time, we didn't have a sterilization certificate or verification certificate.
Well, you should
from
have
the
a
country.
Yeah. So we try to. I understand.
So do you think that there should be a sort of, what I call it, for example, the new airlines? We need to contact the government through the League of Arab States and to ask for this certificate.
You should establish an identity federation in the country, and OMO has been dealing with some things in Western Africa, for example. It's not an easy thing, so you have to set up an identity federation on the country level, yeah, that they can then join, EduGain, and then we're trying to enable most of the services to be EduGain accessible. So then with your national identity, you should be able to federate with other national identity federations and access the services. So the important thing is to set up an identity federation. Now, I don't know, ASREN has been involved in some of these.
We are promoting the IDP and WDP. We already have two workshops on joining the IDP, and so we should join the IDP and join the GANT. We have some success in Morocco, Algeria. We are starting.
So Morocco and Algeria have an IDP.
It's a process, and of course, Lebanon are there.
There was a catch-all IDP, I think, at some point established by the Italians. I don't remember.
That's all, but I think it was very slow, or maybe sometimes it was unavailable. I'm not sure about what the status now, but at least we can get back and see.
Okay, well, I will talk with Imam. after reform. But GEANT is also supposed to be supporting these kind of things. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
Moving on to the fourth presentation. Fourth presentation will be Kevin Sale from University of KAUST, Saudi Arabia. I meant to say earlier, what happened to the fifth speaker, from Indiana University. He was unable to get here physically, but he is down with the program remotely this afternoon instead. So, technology willing, we will still hear you after the
And thank you for having us back here. This is my second ASREN event, and last year's event in Beirut was very impactful and has driven a lot of what we've done over the past 12 months. So yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate there's a lot of organisation that goes into this, behind the scenes as well. So yeah, thank you for having us here. I'm briefly going to talk to you today about KAUST and what we're doing from a global collaboration perspective for our data-intensive science. But first I want to give you a few of the marketing slides and a bit of background and context of KAUST. It's a beautiful and unique institution, and it's often very difficult to convey the scale of some of the activities we're working on and some of the challenges that we have related to that scale. So there are four main thrusts that we look at KAUST: water, food, energy, and environment. And this is we're built on an interdisciplinary model, research centres and 9 core labs, where major equipment such as GEANT, our supercomputer, which was just recently ranked 20th in the world and the #1 system in the Middle East, which we're still quite proud of. We're very proud of it, to be honest. The system is over 2 years old now, so to still be ranked as a top 20 system shows that that system is performing very, very well. And a little fun fact to give you an idea of the scale of what we're working on: GEANT has 20 petabytes of attached storage. Now, while not all of that needs to be shared internationally, it does give you an idea of the kind of the scale and the data sets that we're working with. Within our institution, we obviously have this big supercomputing laboratory, but we also have in-house visualization, and there's a couple of areas that I really wanted to highlight as data-intensive science generators that we have at KAUST. And that's our bioinformatics group. There's a number of genome sequencers and genomic technology there, which is producing huge scientific data sets, and a lot of that, by the nature of gene sequences, is very globally collaborative, and those data sets can be many terabytes in size. And also we have our imaging core labs. We are fortunate enough to have 8 TEIN microscopes, and each one of those is capable of producing some very high quality images and some very large data sets. And all of the work they're doing as well is globally collaborative. So it gives you an idea of what we're doing on the lab side. And we also have some global partnerships with corporations, both on-site at the KAUST campus and beyond. And with working with industry, you can appreciate that security and timeliness is very high on their radar as well. So that gives you an idea of some of how we're structured. So what that means numbers-wise, I'm not going to go through each one of these individually, but a couple of things that really stand out for me: 650 research scientists, 150 faculty, and the important number for me there in the bottom right-hand corner, we are over 100 different nationalities who live, work, and play on the KAUST campus. And that melting pot of nationalities, and with KAUST being a relatively young institution as well, means that just by natural life, we have many international collaborations and hooks to organizations and institutions throughout the globe, even down to the personal level. And to give you an idea of the scale, this is the KAUST campus from Google Earth, and that is the campus area where we have all the labs that I've just spoken about, the interdisciplinary centers and the core labs. But I also want to point out that we have a community. I look after the network for a city as well as a research university. We also have a large area around research and innovation, where we have our own research technology park and incubation cluster to take what's coming out of the university and turn that into commercially viable spin-outs. So that means that we have quite diverse demands on the network as well. So how we've built the network to accommodate that. As you see, the site is a 14 square kilometre footprint. We have 6,000 kilometres approximately of dark fibre crisscrossing the campus. So that's I'm very fortunate to be in that situation. 7,000 active components, including every single home has fibre to it. So the whole model and our very flat network means that scientists should have the same or very similar experience in their home when they go home to work as they would if they're in the office. I have a 100 gigabit core, so we have a very good way of transferring stuff across our campus, and we have 2 10 gigabit links from STC up to Amsterdam, and I'll talk about that in a second. And that's where things start to get a little bit tricky from the international collaboration perspective. We have a lot of data and a lot of capacity to move stuff around, and we don't mention our data centers here, but we have significantly more east-west capacity within the data centers, and then we have our 2 10 gig links up to Amsterdam. So what that looks like is we have the KAUST campus in Thule. We connect out via IMEWE and CMEWE 4 all the way up to our friends at Netherlight. And that's where we are peering with NordUnet and GEANT and transit onto Internet 2. And thanks to the support from Alex, David, and John, we have great ability to connect to the outside world once we get to there. However, and it's a problem that I know a lot of you also share here, that we are 90 milliseconds in the hole, and several thousand kilometers of delicate fiber before we reach our first RNE network. So we've had to suffer some of the same problems that you guys have. So this produces quite a challenge for us. What complicates that further is the DNA of KAUST. So KAUST is now 9 years old, and it was built from the ground up to be a globally collaborative institution. We were seeded with 90 partnerships from institutions around the world. That's now grown to over 100 different academic partnerships throughout the US, Europe, and Asian institutions. And the whole model of KAUST was that its research environment should be unconstrained by national boundaries or disciplinary silos. So this is why being able to collaborate on our data-intensive, large data-intensive science, large data sets is very important to us. So enough of the marketing slides. Let's talk a little bit about what we're doing to help facilitate some of this data-intensive transfer. And you'll notice the next few slides I'm going to talk about are not even my slides. They're slides from ESNet, and there's a little bit from the UCSD guys. And that's because what we're doing here is nothing unique and special or unusual. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here. That the science DMZ that we've deployed at KAUST as a low friction, high bandwidth, highly capable part of our network to transfer data internationally is not new. It's pioneered by ESNet, and we are simply standing on the shoulders of super smart people that have come ahead of us. People like Inda Monga at ESNet, Dave Rees, Larry Smar, and Joe Mambretti have done this, and they have communities of people that are geared up to help you do this. And they've been very helpful for us to do this. So within the last few months, we've recently started our science DMZ, and I'm going to talk to you a little about what it's doing right now and what we plan to do with it, and how that all fits together. So again, based on advice from the science engagement engineers at ESNet, we started small, did a POC deployment, and all you really need, and my point here, the barrier to entry is reasonably low. all you need is a port on your border router, and you can start with just a couple of Linux boxes for data transfer nodes and network performance. So we were fortunate that we'd recently upgraded our internet block using new Cisco Nexus equipment, so we were able to stand up the infrastructure reasonably easily. And by having a very, very small scope, it enabled us to bring our security team in from the beginning and bring them along on this journey. And I'll talk a little bit more about the security implications of the Science DMZ in a couple of slides. So what that small-scale POC looked like at a conceptual level for us is we split the whole Science DMZ into 3 logical segments. The first segment is what we're calling the lab backend segment, which is where our labs are talking to the centralized file storage that we have, which fortunately KAUST has built again on a centralized model. So a lot of the challenges around extending services out into the labs have been alleviated because those labs are already having their services provided centrally. Then from the central storage, we have our Science DMZ backend, which is where our hardened data transfer nodes, and I'll talk a little bit about those in a moment. Perfect. Yep. Talk back into the network. Talk back into the storage. And we also have performance monitoring and tuning with perf sonar. And then we have our long front-end segment where our Globus DTN nodes will be talking to other Science DMZs around the world, and we'll talk about that in a second as well. So real quick, perf sonar, I'm sure some of you are already aware of this. Perf sonar, the gold standard for managing and monitoring the performance of your network on these Science DMZs. Open source, and by being part of the perf sonar ecosystem, we're able to get network intelligence for 1,000+ systems around the world, and it's very useful for our engineers to troubleshoot. And the other big part of this is the data transfer nodes. So having data transfer nodes specifically set up to do, multi-parallel, high-performance, disk-to-disk transfers is very important. And by making those functioning just as data transfer nodes, you can also get around some of the security issues. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but the point of this slide is this is where I want to talk a little bit about security. What we learn is that you can create a wonderful part of your network, but when you approach your security team and say, hey, our super juicy, data-intensive, science, we want to collaborate with everybody else in the world, we want to put it on a part of our network that, we're not going to use a firewall, and, we're going to put it on the DMZ, they start to get a bit jumpy. So if you engage them at the beginning, and fortunately we have good support from our security group, and they understand the concept and they support this. You can bring them along to understand that security doesn't necessarily equal firewalls, and that you can put appropriate compensating controls in with ACLs and server hardening and whitelisting and only allowing connections into other RNE networks. What we're looking at as our stretch goal here, this is a table from ESNet again, nothing special that we've done. If we can get to 2.2 gigabits sustained disk-to-disk transfer, then we'll be very happy. That's our stretch goal right now. This will enable us to go to our researchers in some of our labs and say we can now transfer 1 terabyte of data in an hour. So some of our 5 terabyte genomic data sets, for example, we can now transfer in reasonable times. So this is where we are today. We have only just deployed the environment, and we haven't yet got the performance benchmarks in the dashboard for the disk-to-disk transfers. With the network level, we're getting 5 gigabits per second to CERN down and just under a gig up. We've done no tuning yet, and that's the next step. You have to tune every aspect of the path. But so what? What's next? And this is where we pull it all together. We've we've built a science DMZ, and other people have built science DMZs, but that's no use if the people using these science DMZs still have a barrier to entry and there's different interoperability challenges between the science DMZs. So again, doing nothing special and standing on the shoulders of people like Larry Smar, we're copying or we're working on with the Pacific Research Platform model. So this is where, underpinned by a strong regional R&E network, in this case CNEC, we've taken they took the individual science DMZs and stitched them together with similar policies and monitoring and performance, so that the low friction path that you have for your science DMZ now becomes a more of a low friction collaborative environment. So a final slide is, well, penultimate slide actually, is that they're now moving in the US from the Pacific Research Platform to a national research platform and a global research platform. And again, at the recent event in Montana in the US, they talked about national research platforms and how to stitch these DMZs together. And they're working with global partners to expand this. And there's some people in the room today who are participating in that in the Netherlands. So this is what was presented a couple of weeks ago. But I looked at it and said, well, what about this region? Again, we have an opportunity here to get involved and to be part of the global research platform. And hopefully we've shown the barrier to entry isn't that high. So, final thought that if we all come together, there is sufficient knowledge and brain power in this room, and what we're doing is nothing special. There is nothing to stop ASREN members from building science DMZs today. There's nothing to stop us from linking our science DMZs together, under the organisation of ASREN. And under the organisation of ASREN, we should be able to offer the underpinning R&E network to stitch together all these science DMZs. It's all been done before, and we found the communities there to help us, and also KAUST is willing to help as well. We've just beginning our journey. We've learned some stuff, and if anyone here is willing to set up a science DMZ and wants to collaborate with us, then we'd be happy to work with you on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Kevin, for a very interesting explanation of how KAUST has built out a collaboration and for a very offer at the end as well for extending it into the so thank you for that. Any questions?
It's not a question, but thank you. And I hope we could present your 300 slides.
Yes, this is it, yeah, on day 3.
So, we already started now to teach our elders about persona, special persona, we have a real project, supporting project with Africa to Europe and to America.
Excellent, yep.
Yeah, so through this, at least we will be in the culture of DMCs and also the persona. We are planning a workshop together with our partners, WACREN and the government, at least to get our stand aware how to set up and personal.
Yeah, we've found...
So we are open and we have to work.
That's perfect.
And
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, we found just the network intelligence you get from deploying a persona node, it makes so much of a difference to running and operating your network. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any last questions for anyone?
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. It makes us proud as Arab to have such resources. My question is about the 6,000 kilometers of fiber. It's a huge, big. What it is connecting? Is it connecting universities, data centers? Maybe you mentioned it, but I didn't recognize it. So this is the first question. The second question is it dark fiber or owned by KAUST or?
Yeah, certainly. We were very fortunate when KAUST was built that all of the fibre was deployed across the campus, and it's all owned and operated by KAUST. So we have the infrastructure end to end. That 6,000 kilometres connects everything. It connects our labs and campus up on the campus. It connects the community areas where we live, work, play. It connects all the way out to the homes. It connects to our major data centres, obviously, and our exchange points. And even goes out to our sports and recreation facilities and things like that. So we were very blessed with a strong, OSP and physical infrastructure at KAUST, and it's made, I'm not gonna lie, it's made our lives much, much better by owning and operating end to end everything within campus.
Thank you. Kevin, thank you to all four speakers for demonstrating a lot of collaboration at different levels. There's many taking place in parallel back to make sure what is happening, including an encouraging amount of collaboration across borders already within this region. I think there's a great deal of scope for more of that, as we've seen from other world regions examples. We're on the way, and with that, we should be on the way to lunch as well. What time do we start, Yusuf?
Thank you, David, for leading this correspondence. It was covered many opportunities for correspondence travelers. We have 90 minutes lunch break, so please let's be back at 2:30 and enjoy the lunch. Thank you.